Morning, Phil Quinn from Axum. I should probably start off with our challenges because that's going to lead into our challenge. Is that better? Okay. Our challenge is that a few years back, the general came down and said, I want a shared service between, because he's dual-hatted as both the Axum and the MCOM commander. He wanted everybody to be under one community, and that was fantastic. The problem was that we're separated and we have different missions. And then we started working together, and then it was, no, I need the headquarters DA, Axum to work on their side. I need the MCOM to start focusing because of BRAC. The challenge was that with BRAC, MCOM started growing with FMWRC, AEC, all coming into one area at one time. Our challenge is we're trying to get KM, how do you start from a headquarters DA level when there's the mission is so different than the operational side. And we went down to MCOM, we sat down with several people down there, we looked at what was going on at MCOM, and we said this is operational. This is operational in the generating force, not in operational as in soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. But that was a different business process that they had down there than we had up at headquarters DA and what we were focusing on. So how do we write a strategy or governance that would go from headquarters DA all the way down to the garrison level? And that was very challenging. It still is, because we're not there yet. What we had to do is we had to turn around and refocus in and start with where we are individually, and then grow that from an Axum perspective, and then how we can do that with MCOM. And meeting with the folks down at MCOM, we found several KM champions. Chuck Weeks is down there at MCOM, and he has stood up a KM team down there, and they're doing a fantastic job. MCOM has several pockets of KM that are going on that to recognize what they're doing. They have a group called the MO6. They meet monthly or quarterly, depending upon what the topic is, so that people can come in and they can present the topic, and everybody can go back around and discuss in an open forum. And that's from a garrison level up. And oh, okay. I'll try to eat this. The MO6 allowed for anybody to come in and bring up a topic from a garrison of a success that happened. And when you're talking about sharing information, it's very difficult to share information from one garrison to another because you don't know how that garrison is going to take that information and build it. But allow people to discuss successes of what they were doing within that garrison and give people ideas of how they can take it back to their garrison and make modifications to implement that. So the MO6 is working very well within the MCOM. I'm coming back up to Axum and looking back internally, we said, well, how do we get people to go out there if there are so many different versions of what people thought KM is? Because we all know that KM is SharePoint. But we also looked at that. We said, well, how do we stand up and share our information if we don't have a platform? But yes, SharePoint is a very big tool to allow us a platform to get our information out on what we're doing in KM. And going back, we wanted to say, we need to train these people. And so what we did is we went back and we said, let's start building a course. And so using TRADOC, I won't say using, working with TRADOC, leveraging, we started off and we built a basic course. And the basic course is just finding out what KM is. And why there is a need for KM. It's an hour-long course. It's on Reimer Digital Library. And use this one instead. The Reimer Digital Library course gives you a 1-hour course on KM. And it allows people, the practitioners, is who this is focused at. Not the professionals, not necessarily the champions. But when a champion or a professional goes through the course, they turn around and say, this is a course that I can put out to people in my office to help them recognize what KM is. It's followed on, after we did that first course, we got some feedback on that, and we said we have to follow it up with course 2. Course 2 came around, and it starts helping the individual who walks into a command and they say, guess what, here's my KM. And the person looks around and goes, what's KM? We all know what KM is, it's SharePoint. Well, he's not going to be SharePoint, so what does he have to do? Of course, it's long, it's thorough, and it really helps you out in trying to work with the practitioner who has to figure out, what do I need to do as a KM? Now, who is a practitioner? It's everybody within the Army. Everybody is a KM practitioner. So this course can be put out, and we've put it out on the 2 places for it. Right now, everyone can go out to the Reimer Digital Library. It's back there. Tammy, I think you're going to talk about it a little bit later. You're going to talk about it. So that's what we're putting forward right now, is to allow people to go out, read it, take the course, and then we follow it up with a little seminar. And the seminar would come back, and because people have a lot of questions, it generates a lot of interest. And then we do a 2-day seminar with them to help them figure out how to do that within their command. I think it's working out so far, and that's what we're doing.
Good morning. I'm Charlie Coons, the Deputy Corporate Information Management Officer for AMC. Within AMC, I would say that we are in our infancy with knowledge management. We're currently working primarily AMC staff level, and that was brought about by the fact that we were bracking from Fort Belvoir to Redstone. And the command's concern was that we were going to lose a lot of the corporate knowledge based off of that BRAC move. People not wanting to move or data moving. And what we tried to explain was that knowledge management is not a technology-driven solution. It's an overall.
You can't hear you back here. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. It's an overall program. We have a 3-tiered system within AMC headquarters using KMRs at the staff level. We have a knowledge management officer, Mr. Dan Williams, within the G35, and we recently moved the chief knowledge management officer from our chief of staff position to our G35 position. And this was to help institutionalize and operationalize the knowledge management process within the command. Why is this important? Well, knowledge management to every command is going to be just a little bit differently focused. Ours is focused on the National Maintenance Program, logistics, supply, and it goes down to the depot levels, and we need to make sure that what we support in the knowledge management program supports those lower tiers in supporting the warfighter. And so when you're a commodity-based organization, you need to focus appropriately. So that causes your governance process to be a little bit more robust, a little bit more drawn out, so that as you implement a commodity-based knowledge management item, it does not negatively impact some of your other programs. Challenges. I mentioned BRAC. BRAC was a challenge for us. It caused us to begin looking more seriously at knowledge management. Now the BRAC caused us to transform our headquarters. That transformation caused the change from the Chief of Staff's office down to the G35 office. But then, as part of the BRAC, headquarters AMC transformed the way they did business and picked up the mission of the lead material integrator, which added an additional parameter of focus for our program. We're now in a period of efficiencies throughout the Army, and that's great. brings greater emphasis on the need for the knowledge management, but that also means that some of our knowledge management assets are going to be, or governing assets, may be part of those efficiencies gained. So those are things that we need to look at. And lastly, I would say that when you do the knowledge management governance, it has to be from an enterprise view. We have the material enterprise under AMC. We have the lead material integrator within AMC now. And so we need to look at it more holistically and make sure that that information and how we share it impacts correctly and to the lowest level possible. That's all I have.
Thanks, Charlie. Can you hear me all right?